Prime Minister Ibrahim, can you share with us your vision for your chairmanship of ASEAN? And as we said, can ASEAN even work closer together and achieve more that way? Also, your single market has huge potential. Prime Minister. And let's give the Prime Minister a warm applause for coming back after 13 years.
Thank you. May I reiterate this point to suggest that we are fortunate to be in the region, relatively most peaceful and fastest growing economy, very pragmatic policies, but we are able to do that primarily because the relations and the trust among leaders is exemplary. I'm not exaggerating, but I don't find that sort of level of trust and friendship among countries, engaging on all issues, even what is deemed to be rather contentious, in a very frank, friendly manner. So we have built that consensus, not to just use this forum, ASEAN, as just for diplomatic and peaceful resolution, which is very critical. I think we have passed that. Even in the more contentious issue like Myanmar, we have that consensus to reach an agreement through a 5-point consensus. We are working towards it. I think Julie will probably highlight that a bit. But then for this year, the understanding or the consensus is to focus first on energy, ASEAN energy grid, alternative technology, energy that covers the whole of former Indochina, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, the Philippines, and including the undersea cable from Sarawak. So which means that sort of a more pragmatic way of resolving not only our economic demands because of the huge interest in data centers being placed, because the requirements for water and electricity is now critical. So we have to address that. At the same time, deal with climate issues, notwithstanding what others think or feel. We in ASEAN feel that this is our priority. This is something which is critical for our future. Then second is connectivity, is digital, includes AI. So the region is now focusing on this issue so that there is better understanding between these countries. But again, the fundamentals still remain economy. People say, of course, they are contending forces, competing among ourselves. Not necessarily so, because we share, and I think there's enough of interest into the region, Malaysia and the region generally being attractive. We are more concerned also about the principle of inclusivity. You have to be sustainable, but you have to be inclusive, which means we do not neglect countries. We tend to engage and form a policy that will benefit one another. Because if you do not cater for that, then there will not be peace and tranquility among neighbors, as you have seen in the case of Myanmar. So I think I would end at that, but just by reiterating an earlier point, which is very critical, which many people have in my meetings in Africa, Middle East, and of course Europe and America, people have underestimated that importance of building that sort of trust, of working together, of focusing on these fundamentals. As a trading country, Malaysia, as a trading region, we take that position that we should continue to engage and attract American investors, Europe in a more aggressive manner, China, which is very important as our neighbor, and continue to do so with countries, Australia, India, etc. And I think this is what we call in ASEAN centrality, that we are able to engage and navigate, of course, more precarious. The problem is not our problem, is forced upon us, and we should not be compelled to take positions against anyone. David, thank you.
Prime Minister Ibrahim, you listened to the other participants in the panel. You heard what also Julie Bishop said, and Professor Yunus on importance of breaking the impasse when it comes to Myanmar. Is there any realistic path towards getting back on track, or do we just have to be extremely patient? That's one question. The other question is also related to the single market, because there has been a lot of talk of integrating and creating a real market among the ASEAN countries. Where do you really think it stands today? How deep is it today, and how deep should it be, and how fast will it become as deep as you think it should be? And maybe the third question, ASEAN is economic success today, and the growth is much higher than the 3.3% that is the global growth that we expect this year. In Europe, we expect 1%, so that's a lot more. But how to make sure that this also continues in the future, not to get complacent? So, 3 easy questions for you, Prime Minister.
Thank you. I think,
and you have 3 minutes now. I'm just
I would start with the response to my colleague, Prime Minister of Vietnam. We must have an ambitious target. It's not just going through the same process which we have been successful at in ASEAN, but I think ambitious. That's why we bring in new issues, AI, digital, and to make sure that it is inclusive. So I think that relates to the Yunus' question about how do we foresee the future, and also are we stuck to the present set of policies imposed by others? No, not necessarily. We have asked for the reform of multilateral institutions, but more so we have to set in a case, because most of our countries now look at sustainability in a different light. Of course, climate concern for the excesses in protecting our environment, but what is important, as referred to, is sustainability in a sense that we cater for issue of values, and that's of course totally different from what others think. Values and issue of justice, of issue of correcting the imbalance, and most countries have that sort of a mantra now, and introduce policies that would ensure that not the small coterie of oligarchs and cronies amass wealth at the expense of the vast majority. Now back to Myanmar. Myanmar, of course, I thank Julie Bishop for this. We are progressing cautiously. The first positive indication in the last few months is the preparedness to engage. And I assured them through colleagues and our agencies, particularly the intelligence agency, we're not here to impose. The system governance, even within ASEAN, a bit different. Malaysia or Singapore, Vietnam, Laos, they're quite different, you see. As long as they're representative, some sort of a participatory democracy, we are not imposing. The critical point is peace must be secured. And you must not be deemed to continue these discriminatory practices, or even what was deemed to be violence to be perpetrated against minorities or any groups. So the positive side is that there has been a low-key, low-level engagement amongst the influential, intelligence authorities to set the parameters to make sure that it's also inclusive. Because delaying means sufferings for many people, including refugees in Bangladesh, and even in Malaysia, 200,000 refugees from Myanmar, Rohingyas. This is totally atrocious to continue, to allow this to continue. So the Myanmar authority understand that we have to take a strong position, because the failures of governance in Myanmar are impacting our peace and security. So I am cautiously optimistic. Of course, we will coordinate with the UN on this, But ASEAN will continue to discuss this. We have agreed even to allow for countries, particularly Thailand, allow neighbors to engage at a different level, and we coordinate well. I am, again, cautiously optimistic. This has been going on for the last many decades. It's not as contentious or rancorous as in Gaza or Ukraine, but it is still problematic. It's been going on for too long. We talk about constructive engagement. I've been very cynical in the past. Some of us, my colleagues, we're talking about constructive engagement. What they did was to have construction projects, no constructive engagement. So we have to make sure that the parameters are set right. Don't impose, let them have their say, engage with them, and God willing, we say, inshallah, you'll be able to overcome.
Thank you, Prime Minister.